Okay, so we've got our foreground and background. What we're going to do now is start to add text to our magazine. Now, the first thing I'm going to add here is the masthead, so the title of our magazine. Now, as I said, I'm going to zoom in because I'm going to be working with the top third here for the time being. So I've zoomed in to the top of our magazine here, and what I'm going to do is just make sure our top layer is selected, and then I'm going to hit new layer on there. In fact, no, I'm going to not do it that way. I'm just going to go straight over to the text tool, and if I've got the text tool selected and I just click anywhere on our project, it will automatically create a new layer over here. Now, my magazine is called Retro, so I'm just going to make sure that is black for now before we change anything else, just so I can see it. And it's quite small for now, but again, as long as we've got something on there, we can go back and click it later, and what you can see there, it's already renamed that layer Retro for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, just to work with it a little bit, is do the exact same thing we did before, hit Command T, and that will select that layer. I'm going to hold Shift and scale that upwards, like so. Okay, and again, it's black for now. We're not really wanting it to be black to fit in with our house style of this particular magazine. Our colour scheme is mainly greys, blacks, purples, maybe even whites if you're looking for another colour. But I'm just going to select this now. I'm going to apply that transformation to make that size stay as it is. And I'm going to select that text. I'm going to bring up my colour box here, my colour picker for my text. Now, what I can do here is if I drift over my image, I can actually colour pick something that's already existing to fit our house style. So I'm going to go over to this here, and that gives me this kind of very light pastel-y purple colour, but I'm going to just make that darker just so it stands out from there. So I'm going to leave it this kind of purple colour. I'm going to hit OK. Okay. Now you might decide that you don't like that and you want to change to something else. That's absolutely fine. But I'm going to keep it like that for now. I may change it later. You find that you will keep making little bits of changes as you go along. If we highlight this here, I'm going to change the font. Now I've already picked a font for this particular magazine. A branded look, and it's Bebus Regular. Okay, and that is the font I'm using just here. Now again, I'm just going to tweak this a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Put that there. Okay, that's fine. And now at the minute it kind of blends in with that background a little bit too much, so we're going to make this stand out a little bit more. So we're going to look at changing and editing the text here. So the first thing I'm going to do is double click my retro layer. That's so it renames it. Double click this bit here, and it'll bring up my layer styles panel. And here what I can do is I can have a lot of different options here that I can edit this text with. Okay, I'll be looking at adding a couple. I'll be looking at adding a stroke, and I'll be looking at adding a drop shadow. Okay, so I'm going to first of all add my drop shadow. The drop shadow will make it stand out more from that background. Now if we apply the drop shadow, we get this panel here where we can look at changing perhaps the angle, the opacity of the shadow. I'm going to move it just to 124 will give me that angle, and that is where the light's coming from essentially to cast our shadow. Now it's coming from the top left now. That's where our light's coming from, and it's casting a shadow in the opposite direction from that. And from there I can change the distance of the shadow. I can change the spread, so kind of how thick it is, I suppose, and size of it, whether I want to make it stand out a little bit more from there, but I just want to keep it quite simple here. Just going to keep it to about there. I may even change it to right there, just so we get that effect. So that's what I'm going to keep there with my drop shadow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the colour of that shadow. I'm just going to make it a little bit grayer, I think, just to make it fit in with our house style. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is add a stroke to our retro layer. Now as you can see here, it's already done it grey for me, and then you can have a play about with the different stroke options here. Okay, again you can change the size of that stroke, and it can only go so far if it's on the inside here, but you can change the position of the stroke, whether it's on the outside, so it's working its way outwards, like so. You can put it in the center, so it's both inside and outside. But for this purposes of this, I'm just going to click on the inside because I think that gives the retro and uses the font, and it gives it the cleanest look really. And I'm going to keep it on 6 pixels. I'm going to have a 6 pixel stroke on there. Okay, so I'm going to keep that just like that. I'm going to keep the opacity at 100. So now I've got on my text a stroke and a drop shadow, and you can see the difference it's made there. So if I untick these stroke and drop shadows, it's a lot more plain, it's a lot more flat. That works for things like graphics and text sometimes, but we're not working with graphics, we're working more with images, photography, and we're building up layers here. So I'm going to hit the stroke again and the drop shadow. And that gives our masthead a professional design. Okay, now again, if you look at the magazine I did last year of Matt Ronson, that image is the same. Again, you've got the same font, but the colour scheme has changed slightly. You've got the greener colour and the white stroke with the black drop shadow. Okay, so that's changed slightly differently. But as you develop a theme, a brand, a house style, you'll know what you want for that. Okay, I'm just going to move that slightly. I think to bring it back into the centre there. Okay, so working with our top third, the next thing we're going to do is just make sure our margins are correct. Now this is where our ruler tool comes in. So if I head over to, got our rulers up, just make sure you've got your rulers selected on the view panel. I'm going to drag down here some margins to the side. Now what this allows you to do is structure and lay out your front cover here. Scroll to the bottom, and really you shouldn't be having any text whatsoever on the outside of those margins. Okay, so that's our basic 4 ruler grid structure to make sure there's nothing at the edge really. You really want to make it around probably half a centimetre, 5 mil margins to create this look. Okay, so again, this is what we've got so far. I'm now going to zoom in. I'm going to drag this layer down a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start now combining our text tool with our shape tool. And what that is going to allow me to do is add a banner at the top of the magazine. Okay, so I'm going to head over to the left hand side here. Just make sure that's there. I'm going to select our shape tool. What I'm going to do from there is make sure we're not out of our margins. I'm going to bring a shape tool and place it a rectangle across the top. Okay, let's just move that out of the way for now. But what we've got here is a shape tool. Now as long as your project window ends here, you will not see anything on the outside of this project here. Okay, so you don't have to worry too much about this. You can rescale it if you want, if you're more specific about that, but I'm just going to keep it there for now. Okay, so as I said, the ends, if it goes off the end of the page there, it does disappear. Okay, so if I just quickly reference this one, it is that purpley colour, and I'm just going to add a little cell line, a little point here, that with our text tool. Again, if we go back here, voted, can't really see it there, but it will come up in a minute. Voted the UK's best music magazine at the 2015 VMAs. And then again, that's purple now, so what we want to do, I'm just going to make that the grey colour we've been using here for our strokes. So I can get our colour picker, hit the grey, change that to grey, and then what I can do is drag that into here. Okay, now again, it's in the wrong position there really, so I'm going to hold Command and T, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to make that slightly bigger. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that down. I'm going to make it as big as the retro, and then I'm going to zoom in slightly here. Now a little trick here, if you want to be more precise in terms of how you move your text, instead of just using the move tool, let's just move that. Grab the text tool and just select anywhere on that particular layer, and then if you move further down, you can move that now more precisely than you did before. If you zoom in further, you can be even more precise. Okay, so it's a general guide. I'm just going to leave that there for now, I think. Yeah, I think that looks okay. Hit that, and again, just to emphasize our text, and it should be the same settings from before, I'm going to quickly add a drop shadow to that. And should I add the stroke? No, I'm not going to add the stroke, I'm just going to add the drop shadow. Keep it, bring the distance in a little bit, just to make it stand out a little bit more. It's a little bit big now, so I'm going to Command T that layer, just resize it, use holding Shift, scale down slightly. Doesn't have to be pinpoint perfect at this point, but just for this purpose I'm going to apply that change, and then we've got a kind of strap line at the top. Okay, again, it's not perfect. This is by no means the world's most perfect magazine. This is just to highlight and demonstrate the different skills that you will need to do the basics of a magazine cover. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add to our top third is a little slogan. So again, let's grab the text tool, and my slogan for this particular magazine, for retro, is old school vibes in every issue. Cool, I know. I'm just going to hit up a secondary font here, so I'm going to look at using, I think, I'm just going to use Arial for this particular one. I'm going to make it bold and italic. Clear as it at the moment, it's that grey colour. I'm going to drag it up here so it fits under the O, the R and the O of our magazine. Just there. And again, what I'm going to do with that, double click that and add the drop shadow, just so it stands up out a little bit more. And what we've got there, almost our top third of our magazine done. The last thing I'm going to add here is another little shape, and this is going to be our sticker or our button that's going to go at the top corner here, and that's a sell point to highlight the price of the magazine. Now this is by no means something you have to include. I'm just trying to show you the different techniques to achieve these, so I'm just going to hold shift here to keep a circle in scale, and I'm going to hit that there, and I'm going to just close this, and then with that ellipsis 1, I'm just going to rename that ellipsis 1 price sticker. Double click that, and then I'm going to add a stroke to that. Stroke. Again, a colour picker. I can pick that purple colour that we're using for our house style. Maybe increase that a little bit. Quite thick around the edge. Hit OK. And then we've got our sticker here. Now what I want to do is add some text here. So I've double clicked on the shape with the text tool, and that's going to add some colour in for me. So I'm just going to again grab the purple colour, only $1.99. That's quite cheap actually, but we'll go with that for now, just for the purposes of this. Now, as you can see, the text tool at the top will give you some different options. I just want it centered here, and I'm going to bring it up one. That's not quite in the right place, so I'm just going to put that there. You may have to have an experiment to play around with this, but what I'm going to do from there is then, so to move these to the top corner, what I want to do is select both of these layers so I can move them at the same time, because at the minute if I move that, it just moves the only $1.99 bit. Now what I will say at this point is, if you do something wrong, let's say you just moved that by mistake like I just did, hit Command Z or Control Z for a PC, and that will undo, okay, like before. So if you want to do a step backward on a Mac, it's Alt Command Z or Alt Control Z, and to step forward. So if you've done something, you've moved back, but you want to move back to what you did before, it's Shift Control Z on a PC. Okay, so there's a couple of keyboard shortcuts. What I'm going to do now is hold Shift and select our only $1.99 layer and our price sticker layer, holding Shift. That will select both. And what I'm going to do there is, can I get it on this size? Yeah, I can. I'm going to link these two layers together. So what happens now is that these two layers will move together. I'm going to put that in the top corner. And the last thing I'm going to do here is hit Command T again. Go to the top corner, you can see the little rotate symbol comes up. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm just going to rotate it to the side as if it's been stuck on. With that realistic effect, I'm just going to move that up slightly to the top corner. Just there. Okay. That there, for this particular tutorial, is our top third. What I'm going to do now is just drag another ruler down so I know I'm not going to go above that particular area. That's our top third there. So what we've done here is looked at adding text, looking at playing about with text and getting some different styles to the text. We've looked at adding a strapline, a slogan, we've played with shapes, and we've added some text in there as well. The next step we're going to do is we're going to look at just this bottom bit here, which is going to be where our main headline goes.